Now, Governor Christie, as you all know, is taking on an increasingly national profile as of late, appearing on the campaign trail with Mitt Romney as recently as just yesterday in Colorado. He'll even deliver the keynote speech of the Republican National Convention in Tampa later this month, where, by the way, we will be covering. But with his take no prisoners style, some wondering if he can keep it up. And for all things Christie, we bring in our good friend from The Record, editorial columnist Alfred Doblin. Alfred, as always, I appreciate a few minutes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, before we get into all the speculation about what role he'll have, if he wanted the gig, if he'd be offered the gig, there does seem on the outside to be both the genuine level of respect, if not even affection, between Romney and Christie. It's almost like they see what they'd like to have in the other that they don't themselves, and that they kind of play well off each other. Is that a facade or is that real?
Well, you know, I wouldn't be 100% sure. I mean, I think there is a bit of a, I would think there's a bit of a bromance. I guess that's the phrase there. I mean, I think they complement each other. You know, in some ways, I think they complement each other in ways that might not be best if Christie were the VP, in that they're both also Northeast. You know, one is and one was a Northeast governor, and I think they have a certain understanding for issues that are very specific here. I think they have a lot of respect for a centrist view of the Republican Party. Whether either of them can maintain that if they were running for national office is an interesting thing to watch.
From the outside, it certainly looks that, if anything, Mr. Christie certainly enjoyed his turn in the spotlight. It seems that he'd like, if not the #2 slot, certainly a role, but it doesn't seem to be forthcoming. Is it that, you know, the last few headlines of Christie nationally have been the Jersey Shore blow-up, etc. Is there a temperament question that a lot of folks have that Christie would do more harm than good for Mitt Romney?
I'm just not sure what Christie brings to a national ticket. I mean, I think Romney needs someone from a different part of the country, someone that plays to a different demographic. To be honest, I don't think the Republican Party is quite ready for Governor Christie, and I don't mean that in terms of his whole approach is kind of difficult to understand if you're in the Middle West or you're on the West Coast, but that he is a little more centrist, and I don't think the Republican Party is ready to move quite in that direction. I think they will down the road, and I think that will be Christie's moment. But I think right now he's a great surrogate. He's a great person to go out there, fire up the troops, get people excited. He's great on the side. Think of him as a pickle in a kosher restaurant. He's great on the side.
I'm going to use that line. But he's going to have a big role here at the convention, it seems, as with the address that he'll deliver there in Tampa. People say, hey, it could be his moment, like Mario Cuomo had in '84, or Barack Obama even more recently had before his own run. To that end, is there a risk a little bit here I see for Christie that he's going to be selling this Jersey success story just as, and I don't have to tell you, some of the numbers aren't adding up in Jersey, and there's going to be a lot more pain in the not-too-distant future here because some of those shortfalls. Could he be setting himself up for trouble for re-election next year if he's promoting all this love and happiness in the Garden State that isn't really there?
Well, I think he could be setting himself up for trouble in a longer term. You know, if the employment rate doesn't change in New Jersey, you know, if certain economic things don't shift in New Jersey. But I mean, the bottom line, you know, in 2013 is exactly who's going to run against him. I mean, who's the Democrat that's going to run against him? Would he just the other day say Cory Booker was his favorite Democrat? I mean, I don't think, you know, no one really sees Mayor Booker running for governor. I could be wrong, but they just don't see that as a probability. Certainly, if he keeps trumpeting a Jersey comeback and the jobs don't come back, you know, 2014, 2015, people are going to say, well, you know, it was a great piece of theater, but what did you do? But so he has some time for that, though. He has time to iron out some of those problems.
I tend to think people underestimate him. Many people that I respect, though, say it's when, not if, Rich, this guy will implode. He's going to pick on the wrong person. He's going to go too far one time. It's not going to last. He can't keep doing this. nobody can. What's your feeling about it? Is it more calculated than people give him credit for?
I mean, I hear the same things you're talking about, but usually the people who say he's going to implode generally are Democrats. Could he implode? Could he, shoot from the hip one time too many? Absolutely. As you said, I would never underestimate Christie. He defies a lot of logic, from his style to his physical size to his demeanor. There's something authentic about him, and I think that's his selling point. Even when he's offensive to some, he's authentic. Maybe authentically offensive, but authentic goes a long, long, long way.
In rare form, authentically offensive. And I will say this, for when people thirst for politicians to speak, in simple declarative sound bites and answer the question, one can never accuse Christie of dodging that. But Alfred, as always, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, Baz, I already know these two think I'm nuts, but I think in many ways. But on the Christie front, I think if he could, Romney would pick him. I think that he feels something with this guy, that he thinks that Christie can say the things he wants to say, but it's just not in his DNA to do it, or there's too much political risk to it. I think Christie's more calculated than everybody thinks that they give him credit for.
Please tell Richard the truth. Please tell him the truth.
The reality is it's two Northeastern Republicans would not work on the same ticket. I think, look.
Let's get a on that, but let me ask you about Christie, though.
Yeah.
Do you think that he is a skillful politician, or do you think he's just trouble waiting to happen?
No, you know what? I actually think he's a smart politician. You know why? Because he's had some success. There are a lot of people that don't like him in New Jersey, but he's had some success in New Jersey, interestingly enough, in a not so similar fashion as Andrew Cuomo has had success in New York. Two very different styles.
Big difference.
But I think it's two very different styles that attract a certain type of support. And I think Christie is great to have on the campaign, but you don't want him as a number two because he'll cut you every time. That's what I think.
New Jersey's economy has not rebounded in line with what New York's has. Their unemployment rate is going up.
But the general public in Jersey likes him.
But give it a little time.
You've been saying that for a year now, Andrew.
No, because this Jersey recovery that he keeps touting hasn't happened. So
Quick prediction. If Romney wins, Christie has an enormous future as part of the cabinet in Washington. If Romney does not win, bye-bye Christie. Political career, he will lose his governor career.
National candidate in 2016.
No way in hell.
No, he's not. He won't be.
No way in hell.
He will be.
He's too moderate.
Christie is not a national candidate.
Of course
he will. He's not a national candidate at all.
I think he'll crash and burn. I
Christie
don't
is
see.
an
Why would
accident.
they make him a keynote address guy if he had no appeal nationally?
You know what? Fire up the crowd. Do exactly what Sarah Palin did.
Right.
In 2008, she crashed and burned right afterwards, clearly, but nobody expected her to have the speech
But
to
that's
do the
also
speech
why
she
I
did.
don't see Christie on the cabinet. He's too.
He'd have
to play
No,
the
there's
part.
gotta be a payback. There has to be a payback if Romney wins.
How about it's I'll help you in any way that I can, or I'll set up with my organizers.
I think you underestimate the man here. We'll leave it at that.